Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Let's go ahead and get started by hearing from all of our sponsors, including Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Thanks again to Violet Defense, and please go to their website at www.violetdefense.com. We want to thank our newest sponsor, Huddle, for helping with the Educational AD Podcast. Huddle. We power sports. Over 180,000 teams, including the best in the world, use Huddle to elevate their performance with video and analytics. Okay? It's a complete platform for performance. They have the most powerful and flexible tools for video analysis, and that includes online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras, analytics, and more. Huddle's built for every level, from youth up through high school, college, and even the professional ranks. Okay? There's over 6 million users, including your student athletes, your parents, and the colleges and universities you're trying to get your students recruited to. 1 billion highlight views and counting through the Huddle system and the hub for video highlights. Want to learn more? Go to huddle.com and find out how to become a member of the Huddle team. You won't be disappointed. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. I've shared many times that we have a Sideline Interactive video score table in our gym, and it is fantastic. You really need to check it out. You know, it's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo to see their tables and boards in action and find out what these fantastic products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. You know, Wall of Fame by Vital Signs is on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call them at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. You really need to check them out. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack, who sponsor the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also gives the 95% of the players and parents who really love your program a voice and helps demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Finally, we want to thank Hometown Ticketing. Simple and easy online ticketing. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Learn more at hometownticketing.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're making history today. This is our first time venturing into the great state of Louisiana, and we are very honored and fortunate to have Carl Nini. Carl is a certified athletic administrator, and he's the athletic director for the Jefferson Parish School System, and that's in Harvey, Louisiana. He's got a tremendous background in athletic administration at the state and even at the national level. And we're just really excited that we could get him on as our first Louisiana guest. Carl, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, before we came on, and for our listeners, we're recording this on October 19th. So you're going to be hearing it very close to our recording date. Carl was just touching on some of the challenges that they are experiencing still from the effects of Hurricane Ida. And I'm going to give him a chance to kind of share some of those. But first, Carl, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that 5-minute bio, where you were born, where you grew up, where you went to college, and, maybe how you got started on this path of athletic administration.
I grew up in Jefferson Parish, went to school 5 minutes from away from where I work, played baseball and ran track in high school, went to college, and then played for a small NAIA school, Our Lady of Holy Cross College, which recently changed its name to the University of Holy Cross. Played ball over there, was elected a captain my senior year for the baseball team. Got to be real good friends with the president of the college, Father Tom Chambers, who sadly has passed. And as I started my teaching and coaching career, I started my coaching career at the school where I did my student teaching, and just started wanting to get involved. And it was very exciting to, 31 years ago to start coaching, and worked my way through and stayed there. And then finally, I guess maybe 10 years after I was teaching and coaching, decided to go back and get a master's degree, and went back to Holy Cross, got my master's with Father Tom. And my wife also went back. She was a teacher and a school administrator. She went back as well, and it started off the administrative career as a assistant principal in charge of athletics, dean of students, and then 8 years as a principal, and now in my current position of being the parish athletic director, also in charge of physical education.
Yeah, I know. Looking at your bio and your resume, you're currently in charge of multiple schools in that parish system. Let's go and jump right into, I think the routine for most of our listeners, the routine of an athletic director, they understand, the scheduling and hiring coaches and all of those things. But boy, talk about some of the challenges you're facing right now, dealing with the aftermath of that hurricane coming through your area.
Well, as you said, we have multiple schools. We have 80 schools in our district that, as far as the PE program, I'm in charge of the PE programs for those 80 schools. We have 13 high schools that are competing, with our state association. So with those schools, I'm fortunate that we have an athletic director at each school that does a lot of the hiring for the coaches and scheduling with their coaches. But with Hurricane Ida, we lost 3 schools that we cannot go in those buildings anymore. And one of our football stadiums, we have 3 football stadiums, and one of them is completely gone.
Well, I had a phone call there for a second. How do you respond to that? How did your team of ADs and coaches, and obviously the rest of the school personnel, how do you start moving forward from that? What are some of the things that you did to sort of minimize the impact, which is major, and try to get back to as best as normal as you can, and now throw COVID in there too?
Well, we're very fortunate because our ADs, I I have to give them the credit. They stepped forward. We didn't have to ask, hey, can you help this school out? Immediately, because we're such a close-knit group of that we work together, the 13 ADs and myself, they started reaching out to each other and doing fundraisers, allowing the school, Fisher High School in Lafitte, Louisiana, is the one that has the football team that was and volleyball team and cross country that was their school and their town was devastated. And they were able to, one of my other ADs at our 5A school said, hey, I got an extra locker room that I had my freshman team in. I moved them out into another area. Y'all come practice at our facility and we're going to make it work. That way you'll have your area to practice and still following COVID guidelines. And it's just phenomenal to see the amount of support that they've given to each other.
Wow, that's just fantastic. When you got a team like that, they truly look at it. Yeah, we're rivals from school to school, but we're all part of the same district, same team. That is great. For listeners, we're visiting with Carl Nini, certified athletic administrator at Jefferson Parish Schools in Louisiana. We're going to be back with more, but let's take a quick break and hear from a couple of our sponsors. We want to thank Huddle for helping sponsor the podcast. Go to the Huddle website if you're not already a Huddle school, and you will be amazed. Huddle has more than 180,000 teams, including the best in the world, using video and analytics to help their teams do better. We actually have a Huddle focus system in our gymnasium, and our coaches love it. It's so easy to use. They have a complete platform from online tools to desktop apps, smart cameras, and more. Just unbelievable technology. Huddle is involved with every single level of play, from the youth programs up through high school and college, and even the pros. Over 6 million users, including your student athletes, your parents, and the colleges that you're trying to get your kids recruited to. Okay. If you're ready to learn more, go to huddle.com. You can get a free demo. You can also find out about how your school can become a Huddle school. Please check it out. We're back with Carl Nini, certified athletic administrator from Harvey, Louisiana. Carl, in our profession, we always talk about the importance of leadership and in particular mentorship. So who are some of your mentors that helped you along the way and helped you become the person that you are today? Can you share a little bit?
Yeah, well, I have a couple. One, as I mentioned earlier, when I did my student teaching, as I was walking around as a 21-year-old college senior and student teaching, and I put my backpack on, I had one of the old coaches there who coached the offensive line boy, who are you? Who are you? Why you're not in uniform? And I'm like, well, I'm a teacher. You're not a teacher. You're too young. And from that, a friendship was born, and he and I became good friends. And he kind of taught me. He'd been a seasoned veteran, 10 years or so, and kind of took me under his wing and taught me how to do things in Jefferson Parish and how to do the right things coaching. And he was one of them. Mark Terrebone's his name. He's a great guy. And 30 years later, we're still friends. He's actually the godfather for my youngest son. And, he's retired now, but we still talk weekly. And he offers me advice all the time, even when I don't want it, like a true mentor. And then I have another coach that I had in high school, Coach Billy North. He coached me at my school. And then later on, when I was an assistant principal, he was the coach at the high school that we were working at together. And now he's retired and he's a member of our school board here in Jefferson Parish. So, he tells me all the time that, he shaped my future and guided me in the right path. And I said, I understand. I said, but there's also a lot of deficiencies because he was my English teacher. So, but he's great. And those two guys, I would say, would be the ones that help shape me as far as coaching and administratively in my
I'd always love to hear the stories about, those mentors, those people that helped us along the way. It's just so cool. Carl, we get a lot of young athletic directors and some old ones like me that listen to the podcast. And I think it's important for them to hear and understand the journey that we all take. So share a little bit about how you got involved with your state association and then also with the NIAAA. So how did that all happen?
Well, when I took over, my predecessor, Manny Baracco, was on the board of our state association. And, I spent about a week and a half, 2 weeks shadowing him. And also, as I shadowed him and talked to him, he was telling me things. Look, you need to be involved. You need to, even though we all think we know what we're doing, we really don't when it comes down to it. And you have to broaden your horizons and become involved in this association. So after just going to the meetings after 2 years and becoming eligible, I was elected to the board by the other members and started just working with the social committee and working with the group and making sure that I was involved. And now I'm one of the officers on the board and enjoying the friendships and look forward to those meetings that we have 4 or 5 times a year when we get together, and just making sure that, no matter what age you are, as you mentioned before, the older athletic directors, the youngest, no matter what age, there's always something new for us to learn as we progress in this job, because each day is different and each day brings new challenges that we've never had before. And then with that, I started going into taking classes with the National Association. Went to the first conference in your state of Florida back in 2015 and enjoyed that. Took 3 classes at that conference, that first conference, and started working towards getting that certification. And now I'm our state delegate for our state association when we have the meetings at the conference. Truly enjoyed, miss seeing people at the last.
Oh yeah.
Been virtual, and it's not the same as being there.
Yeah, again, and now you're that athletic director at your state reaching out to those younger ADs to get them involved and start their journey with the state and with the National Association. Great stuff. Okay. Once again, we're visiting with Carl Nini, certified athletic administrator. He's the athletic director for the Jefferson Parish School System in Harvey, Louisiana. We've got more coming from Carl, but let's take another break and hear from a couple of our podcast sponsors. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive for helping sponsor the podcast. I've shared with you many times that we have a Sideline Interactive video board in our gym, and it is fantastic. You really need to check it out. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action and find out what these fantastic products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We're back with Carl Nini from Harvey, Louisiana, Jefferson Parish School System. Carl, one of the things we like to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are a couple initiatives that maybe you have been involved with as an athletic director or now as kind of a district AD, that when you sit back, you can say with equal parts pride and humility, hey, we do this better than anybody. What are some best practices that you have at Jefferson Parish?
I think one of the best that we have is our student safety for different sports. With USA football, in a partnership with the New Orleans Saints and their youth programs. We got together, and it's now mandated by our board that all football coaches are heads up certified and follow those guidelines about not putting that head, leading with the head. And we've seen in the last 4 years that we've done this, a decrease in concussions in football. We feel like through this education component that the coaches are not, they learn how to properly fit equipment. They learn how to teach the game a lot better. And we're not putting kids in that risk of future problems with the brain and that we see in the NFL just by doing this. And I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of is putting that education component in with our coaches and athletic directors.
Oh, no, absolutely. You can't stress that safety component too much. What were some of the things that you did to initiate that relationship with the Saints? And I know you've done some things with the Pelicans as well. What are maybe some first steps to reaching out to those types of organizations?
The first thing is don't be afraid to call them, because every professional sports organization has a youth program that is in some fashion or another. Some are a little bit more in depth than others. We're very fortunate that the Saints and Pelicans are owned by one owner, Miss Gail Benson, and she invests a lot of money in our community and she gives us a lot of things. I mean, I guess it first started out, I had a kid who was playing basketball for one of our schools who had like a size 19 foot, and he couldn't find, the coach was like, look, I can't find shoes. So I called one of the contacts at the Saints and Pelicans and said, hey, look, do y'all have a pair of shoes that size 19? Next thing I know, I have 100 pairs of shoes in a closet, size 14 to 20 that they gave me. They said, look, here's all the ones we throw them out. And if you want them, take them, put them, and as kids need them, use them. And so we have those shoes for the kids that have those big feet.
What a great idea. And again, those NBA guys, and they probably wear a shoe for 2 or 3 games, then they want a new one. So, again, a great example, as you said, don't be afraid to ask, whether it's a pro team or a booster or a sponsor, reach out and ask. Great stuff.
And some of the colleges as well will help us. We have Tulane in our backyard, Tulane University, and Coach Fritz is very generous with his time, and they're willing to help as many as they can. Very
cool. Again, the benefits of simply asking. Okay. For listeners, we are visiting with Carl Nini, Certified Athletic Administrator, and we're going to be back for more, but let's take another quick break to hear from our sponsors. Wall of Fame by Vital Signs is on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options, along with an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history along with your proudest moments, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call them at 614-981-3589, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Carl, one of the questions we've asked our athletic directors since we started the podcast over a year ago revolves around this idea of social awareness. And so, again, I'm going to ask you, how can an athletic director do a better job of being socially aware for their school, for their community, for their programs? Do you have any advice for us?
I think when you look at it, you have to listen to your students and listen to your community, and get a feel for it. We work a lot with a lot of different groups, and we're very fortunate. Our superintendent here has a lot of committees, and they call it student councils, but they'll pull kids from different backgrounds and put those together, and we will meet with them. He meets with them regularly, but every once in a while he would call us in because they want to discuss something that's going on within the community, and that social, and it helps us to get a better pulse of what's out there. It's not just us making decisions and forcing it down someone's throat.
Again, you hear a lot about, the student athlete advisory committees. What are you doing in Jefferson Parish? Do you have a district plan that all the high schools follow, or do you allow your individual school ADs to kind of formulate their own program?
We allow them to formulate their own. We meet as a group because there's 13 high schools, so the 14 of us will get together and we'll meet and we'll try to talk best practices, and I'll try to pull a lot of the stuff, the information from the national conference and the breakout sessions from there, and I bring it back to them so they can have that information, and then they all tweak it, because our schools, each school, even though they're a high school, as you know, they're all different personalities within that school. And some of them as their magnet schools, and some, each one takes a different approach to follow through and go with their gut, and they meet with those students, and then they report back to us as a group and say, hey, look, you really need to try this. This really worked. And that helps out a lot.
Oh, yeah. And it's great flexibility for them to be able to, have that ability to tailor make their program to fit their kids and their community. I think that's all part of being socially aware. Okay, good stuff. Once again, we're visiting with Carl Nini from Jefferson Parish School System, Harvey, Louisiana. We're going to be back and find out what's inside Carl's athletic director toolbox. But first, let's hear from our toolbox sponsor, Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect some comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your school's athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also allows you to give the 95% of the parents and the student athletes who really love your program a voice, and help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their website, including their testimonials, and then call 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. All right. Well, Carl, this has been really cool getting to know you and hearing about your programs. And again, thanks for being the very first Louisiana athletic director to appear on the podcast. But we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with the Athletic Director Toolbox, which again is sponsored by Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You're certainly an experienced and also an award-winning athletic director. But right now, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go inside Carl Nini's athletic director toolbox?
Ooh, it's one of the things I would have to say is, realize that as you going on this journey and you're new, and that any task that you have to deal with, people say, oh, you're the athletic director, and they kind of put you up on that pedestal sometimes, but no job that you can do should be below you or menial. If, there's times when you go to the stadium and you may have to be the person to collect the tickets, you may have to be to take out the trash, and the people that work with you and for you, they appreciate that, you're out there to help them. So don't think of yourself as too high on that horse that, you can't do the little things, because it's the little things that's going to get the big things done when you're working at each site.
What a great a great tip. And you got anything else that you could toss in that toolbox?
We talked about it earlier, is building relationships. You have to build those relationships, from the, we talked about the Saints and the Pelicans, but also, like we have a contract that we sign with our sports medicine providers, and that relationship, we know what they're going to do, and they know what we're going to do, and we're on the same team, and we work again towards the safety of that student. The sheriff's office for security at games, it's a team effort, and you have to have that mentality. Not one person can do this job on their own and cover every aspect of it. You have to depend upon your team, trust them, build that relationship, and I think you would be destined for success. And also, along the same lines is, be open for new ideas. Your ideas, although they may be great, there's many a times I have some ideas and I'm like, oh, this is going to work fantastic. I know what we're going to do. We meet with the athletic directors, and they're like, that's not going to work at my school. And well, tell me how we can go about and do that and make that happen. And it's just one of those things that, being open for that is going to really set you up for success.
Oh, absolutely. The positive side of that, being open to new ideas, is so powerful and so much appreciated in a team setting. And the opposite is also true, that, that's not going to work, or we've never done it that way before. Just takes the entire air out of the room. So, great advice, being open to new ideas. Carl, this has been really cool. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
You can email me, carl.nini@jpschools.org. It's our email here, or you can give me a call. My office number is 504-349-8644.
Okay. And that information, I'm sure, is also available on the NIAAA portal.
Yes.
So again, Carl.
The Jefferson Parish Schools website.
Oh, okay. Outstanding. Yeah. Carl, thanks again for taking some time out of your busy day and dealing with everything that you're dealing with right now, normal AD stuff, plus the hurricane aftermath. Really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. You do a great job with getting our information out there and helping, because like I said, even though we're veterans at this, we still learn something every day. And it's because of people like yourself that are helping to get that word out. We truly appreciate it.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews are being uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. We also want to give a final shout out to Hometown Ticketing, who's the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com for more information. Thanks again for listening today. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast.